The NFL stands for not for long.
Second down and goal from just inside the 2. Backs offset. Sharga and Armstead. Rollout. Walker still running out. Looks to the left. Wide open. Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of him.
Catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofting corner the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
Too many words I left to say, so they get left behind. I can't let you go. I won't let you know. I'm drowning in your wine.
Welcome on back to episode 6. I'm going to come out swinging today, Justin. We need some juice. It's episode 6, not for long media. I was told last week that I'm just monotone and welcome on back and all this stuff, but I'm coming out swinging now. Episode 6. We are rolling. Tahir Whitehead, former Carolina Panther. He's a current NFL free agent right now. He's played in a bunch of different places across the league. Raiders, got drafted by Detroit. He's Temple tough. He's from New Jersey. He's done a ton for the community. He's such a great guy. Justin, you've listened to a little bit of it, obviously producing it. Seems like a great guy.
Oh, absolutely. And going back to what you said about needing the juice, you should just call your buddy Mitch Ferguson up and see if he can offer up some of that hustle juice he was talking about.
Mitch, yeah, he's got the hustle juice for sure. I can't do hustle juice at night. I'll be up all night. I have enough energy. But yes, episode 6. Tahir, thanks for coming on, brother. Someone I'm able to call a dear friend, team captain, and really just gave me tons of advice last year, my first year in the NFL, and someone I really, really admire. But first, I'm going to talk about our sponsors, guys. Wealth Advisory Services. You heard about Paul, Dave, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, my hometown. Personalized approach to managing your wealth, all levels of it, whether you're the 27, 28-year-old trying to figure out what the heck they're talking about, which is me, or you're someone who's ready for retirement. They really, really, truly do it the right way. Paul, Dave, I've known them now for a decade. They become great friends, family friends, and I really appreciate you guys helping me and helping our listeners at Not For Long Media. Check them out, wealthadvisoryservices.com, and you guys know what it is. The original Fudge Kitchen, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country, fudgekitchens.com. And listen, Justin, the reason why I threw the Flyers jersey on today, if you're watching on YouTube, is solely for someone to guess the name on the back of this jersey. Again, I'm bringing the juice tonight. Someone's got to guess the name on the back of the jersey, and they're going to get a box of free fudge from the original Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com. So you guess the name on the back of my jersey, and we can't see Justin's number. And you got to guess the name on the back of Justin's jersey. So he's got the CAPS, caps, NASA George. Shout out to NASA George, Caps fan. So if you can guess the name on the back of his jersey, and you can guess the name on the back of my jersey, tweet at us, Facebook us, Instagram comment, free box of fudge shipped to your house. You pick the flavor, we'll get the box for you. You can mix and match, whatever you want to do. Original Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com. All right, so this is the second annual This Just In with Justin Ayers. So what are we going to talk about today, Justin?
2 topics on This Just In for this week. You picked the second one. The first one is NFL. They have moved to a 17-game schedule. The NFL is expected to add a 17th game to the regular season schedule this week. It is the first major change in the league schedule since they went from 14 to 16 games in 1978. So I have some bullet points. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of everything that happens along with the 17 games. So we have 17 games in 18 weekends. Colin, unfortunately, that means no extra bye weeks. You get the 1 bye week. The preseason goes from 4 games to 3 games. So a lot of people thought we would cut that in half, maybe only have 2 preseason games. No, we're going to keep it with 3. Week 1, September 12th. Week 18 is January 9th. Super Bowl Sunday is the day before Valentine's Day on February 13th. So that'll be a fun weekend for all the couples out there. The 17th game, it's really confusing how they're going to schedule it. So my guy, Warren Sharp on Twitter, Sharp Football Analysis, he was tweeting out like it's going to be an AFC, NFC cross-conference matchup based on divisional standings from 2020. So Colin, it looks like Carolina's going to be playing Houston, and the big one is Green Bay and Kansas City will be squaring off. And Wild Card Weekend is now, it's a 3-day thing. So 2 games on Friday, 3 games on Saturday. Actually, hang it back up. I'm going to get that right. 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, 1 game on Monday. It's a lot to unpack, but what's your immediate reaction when you hear all of that?
Well, It's first off, for everyone out there who was reacting this weekend or what is this all about? This has been coming for a year now. The CBA was signed about, a little bit before this time last year. So this is not new news to players and coaches. We just didn't know when it was coming. And 17 games, like you said, 3 preseason games. I heard today they're going to try to do a little bit more international play. So watch those games maybe get moved to more international play, especially making up for things that went away this year. But I don't know if we're going to be quite there yet to be traveling and taking teams to countries that may be already currently in lockdown. I know a lot of things was based around the TV deal, and a part of the new CBA collective bargaining agreement signed by the players, the owners, all the above, is that I'm reading some notes here that I took earlier on it, but there had to be a new media deal done because there's one other game, right? That makes sense. New media TV deal. And the players actually get a bigger cut out of that, which I heard, which is really cool. That's good. So yeah, my initial thoughts are, it sounds like a really long season, but maybe practice is a little bit lighter as the season goes on. This is where your sports science departments get really involved because, I know it's one less preseason game. Camp is still training camp. It's going to be new and fun, and it's going to start a little bit later, September 12th. And then, the NFL again, it's going to continue to be a year-round thing. They're just going to dominate all the way through, like you said, to Valentine's Day. So, excuse me, I'm really excited by it as a player. Obviously, financially, is one other opportunity to go out there and show what you can do and have fun, but another opportunity to play this great game and people get to watch it a little bit longer, right? It just extends the season one more time. Make the playoffs big, just like they did last year. Continue to grow the game. This is all they're going to do is grow the game by doing this. So it's exciting stuff. What's your initial thoughts by it there, Justin?
I was really hoping on behalf of all you guys that you guys would get a second bye week. Like I was thinking that, these guys, it's a physical game, and especially you. I mean, because like you play a physical game, you're a blocker, you're throwing your body around week after week, and you take a beating. Like, how valuable is a bye week for rest and recovery?
Oh, it's absolutely massive. But I would say this: which is interesting, and I think really needs to happen, and they're going to do that, is expand the rosters, expand the game day roster, expand the practice squad, because it allows players to develop one. It allows teams to practice too, because you can't practice against guys mid-season. You can't really get quality reps. You'll get 2-3 quality reps a week on this one play, and then that's it. And maybe if you're lucky, there's big plays in games that we just walk through to practice. We didn't even run a real play against in pad. So yeah, the more you expand the rosters, the better. But this is going to make teams take care of their players more. They're really going to have to, because it's another game late in the year, and it gives people an opportunity to, how's it going to go? I have no idea. But it's just one more game. So it's really not that much. So at the end of the day, another opportunity to get better and play and have some fun and show what you can do and hopefully secure a playoff spot.
I mean, the 3 preseason games, I think that's going to be pretty valuable for guys like on the bubble, because like, I guess the other side of that coin is if you cut the preseason, there's some guys who won't really get a chance to show what they have. Do you kind of like the 3 preseason games? Because I think for a while the preseason was pretty big in your career, right? Like trying to like a show off like what you've been working on.
Yeah, it was definitely big for me, and it allowed me to expand my play, confidence, etc. I'm 50-50 on the preseason. I think 2 games would have been perfect. 4 games feels like forever. And not that 4 games in a season feel like forever, but you're practicing at such a high level during camp, and then you go play a game. Training camp in college is like you beat the crap out of each other for 30 days, and then you go play a game. Well, this is like 30 days of beating the crap out of each other in camp. And then you're playing a game every week. So that was a real struggle for me. I just remember being exhausted when I was in Chicago. We played 5 preseason games, the Hall of Fame game and 4 others. And I was the 6th tight end. So I had to play a lot, which was unreal. And people would give their life to do that. So I'm not complaining, but I just remember being like, wow, this is way different than normal training camp, because the training camp I knew, like I said, was 30 days or whatever it was, 28 days in North Philly, in Gainesville, in high school. Maybe in high school you play a scrimmage, but you're getting ready for week 1. The NFL, you're playing games, and then you got to go 48 hours later and perform on the field against starters and whomever. So it's definitely a grind, but the cream rises to the top, and that's what the preseason games are for. And really, to be honest with you guys, and people know this, the preseason games are really not for your team. They're for everybody else. So a lot of guys this year wouldn't have been on teams if it wasn't for preseason games. They would have got cut. and a team would have picked him up right away. A lot of people this year didn't get to see how players perform in training camp, right? If you have a question mark about a player in college and he goes to, say, the Carolina Panthers and he practices really well, the Philadelphia Eagles, for example, or the Washington football team, they don't know how that player's doing. They have no idea. They don't have access to the tape. If you play a preseason game and that player plays well, then you do know. So, long story short, I think it's great. More football, the better. Why not? Why not? I'm surprised. I looked at my calendar here. I'm surprised they didn't push it back even more. So the Super Bowl Sunday was on the 20th of February, and then President's Day weekend. President's Day is the next day. So that would give people a 3-day weekend, but it didn't happen this year. It's going to end on Valentine's Day, which is the 13th. Valentine's Day is the 14th, which was that Monday. And then a week later is President's Day. So yeah, unique stuff. And NFL, again, just dominating the headlines. They are right now. They, to me, have taken the gas out of a lot of the March Madness that I'm used to watching. So yeah, it's good stuff out of the NFL per usual.
I'm jacked up about super wild card weekend with the 2, 3, and 1 games all across the weekend there. I mean, that is just going to be
awesome.
Like strap in. You're going to be on your couch all weekend. Kind of like how I was with this past weekend with March Madness. That's a segue, folks. This is our second topic. The Elite Eight has a wildly different look this year. So this weekend, of course, was the Sweet 16 round of the men's March Madness tournament. Some of the biggest stories coming out of that weekend: 11 seed UCLA taking down 2 seed Alabama. It had to go to overtime. If you watched any of this game, Colin, I hope you did, because Bama was down 3 with 0.4 left in regulation. And a guy named Alex Reese, who is a 25% 3-point shooter, deep 3, goes to overtime. People who bet the over were going crazy. And then it was all downhill because then Bama lost by 10.
How about the guy for Bama who went to the line and they were down 1 and he missed both? Then they go down and they lay it in. Right. So there's many layers to it. I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted to this weekend. Very frustrating. But I get to watch the highlights, and I watched a couple of games here and there. The Creighton game was a blowout. I watched that. The Loyola game ended up getting ugly. I watched that. And they were like the 2 I really watched. But really what I want to talk about and touch on was, I sent you a picture this morning of the TV. Here are the teams in the Elite Eight: USC, Gonzaga, Arkansas, Baylor, Oregon State, Houston, UCLA, and Michigan. So there's a lot of things that jump out, right? You got some true, pure basketball schools of Michigan and UCLA, and Gonzaga's become one. You could think that's fair to say, and then, Baylor's pretty good, but then you have your outliers in Oregon State and Houston and Arkansas, USC. But to me, where's the East Coast at? I mean, some of the best basketball in the world is played in New York, is played in the Carolinas, is played in Philly, Miami, the big cities they just have tons of talent, and the suburbs have tons of talent. No teams from the state of North Carolina, the entire ACC. Oh, let me say that. Yeah. Is there any ACC there? No, there's no ACC at all. And I know it's a down year for the ACC. So that blew me away. No Northeast, nobody. Like, the most East team is probably Arkansas. I don't want to say anything wrong. I'm going to get roasted. But just that blew me away. Like, nobody in the Northeast, no one from the East Coast at all, or the ACC made it, which is just crazy.
Well, you know what this means is that the Pac-12, the joke was always, Conference of Champions, Bill Walton, haha. It really is the Conference of Champions because there's 3 Pac-12 teams in the Elite Eight. No other conference has more than 1. You brought up Oregon State, UCLA, USC. I mean, like, this is like the first time that I can remember where there's been no Duke, no Kentucky, no Kansas, no UNC, none of the blue bloods except for UCLA.
No Maryland. No
Maryland.
No, that's what I'm saying, more than Northeast. Like, even the teams, like, I'm trying to think, the Florida State was there, but they can't get there again. They could get over the hurdle. So it's just unique. That's the first thing that stood out to me. I'm like, wow, man, there's no college sports in general always has Northeast, and a bunch of different Stanford, or that's the West Coast, but I'm saying it's always like Stanford, Penn State in volleyball, or it's like in hockey, it's Penn State's been pretty good, or you got Maine, and then all these different sports. I follow a bunch of different ones. There's always a Northeastern team in it or an East Coast team in it. And I'm not biased or saying that there should be. I just think that jumped off the screen to me because of all the big cities on the East Coast, all the recruiting hotbeds on the East Coast. Football, you got Georgia and Florida and some premier talent in the Carolinas. And I'm going all over here, but I just thought that was really interesting. It jumped off the page. And then again, it's Pacific Northwest, go Gonzaga too. So you're going to Pac-12, throw Gonzaga in the Pac-12 for what it's worth, right?
They basically are at this point, yeah.
Right. I mean, they're in the same region. So then you got Arkansas, Baylor, Michigan, and Houston. So it's really interesting. And it just jumped off the page to me that, wow, what a unique year in sports. What a unique year in March Madness. And like I said, the cream's rising to the top with all this COVID drama. And I say drama respectfully. I'm talking about on missing players and contact tracing, of course. But yeah, what a crazy year.
I love it. All right. You want to get to your interview?
Let's send it over to the Tahir Whitehead interview. Before we do, check out wealthadvisoryservices.com. Paul, Dave, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, first-class approach to managing your wealth, big or small. And they just teach, which I really enjoy. And then the Fudge Kitchens, again, the original Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com. Guess the name on the back of this jersey. Guess the name on the back of that jersey. So you have a Capitals jersey of a relatively new player. I'm not going to tell you what my player is because you'll figure it out. But you got to figure it out. You get a free box of the original Fudge Kitchen Fudge. That's it. That does it for this Just In. Right? Is that it? The second annual, this Just In. That's it.
We're getting pretty good at these.
Yeah, we are. We're getting good. Our camaraderie is building. That's Justin Ayers. I'm Colin Thompson. Hope you enjoy the Tahir Whitehead interview.
Just another day on a desert isle, caught up in a dream and I got her smile. Drink it down fast and I felt it burn.
That's a lot, man.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, but you've been around it, man. You know, you're not new to this. You know, you've had the hurdles to overcome and everything like that. I've only been fortunate enough not to have to go through some of the ups and downs and the roller coaster of a career of most guys. And you know, it's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the league where you know, you can find yourself on the team, off a team, up 1 week, down 1 week, practice squad, then you're active. You know, and it's a lot mentally, you know, and I've seen it for so long on a lot of guys. So I always told myself, you know, cherish it, you know, never take it for granted. Always keep that same work ethic that, you know, pretty much, you know, that I've had my whole life, you know, my whole career. And it, like, just from high school to you know, going to Temple, you know, it elevated even more so. And I'm like, all right, you know, shit, I'm not even supposed to be here. So each year it's like, you know, you got to kind of reinvent yourself and, you know, stay hungry, act as though you're the undrafted guy or the, you know, in my case, the fifth round, you know, guy that, you know, was told, hey, look, you know, you're on the fence, you know, by the GM, you know, you could be cut, you know, something like that. And it's like, yo, you have to run scared. And I know it was something that Golden and Rule, you know, they used to say when, you know, my first 3 years when they were all together, like, run scared. You know, he's mentioned it to, you know, you guys, I'm pretty sure, over the years, and he's mentioned it this past season, but it's just like, you have to go into every season, every training session with that mentality.
I was saying it before, 139 games, 6 full seasons, 9 NFL seasons, but 6 full, all 16 games, played 15 once and played 14 2 seasons. I was just blown away. And we were talking about that right before we started recording about how many games Tahir's played in, and someone I've always looked up to and someone that's been a mentor to me and a guy that's I've picked his brain on many of things. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But you talked about reinventing yourself. You talked about the grind. You talked about where it started. You're from Newark, West Side High School. Talk about growing up in that area, some of the valuable lessons you've learned and some things you've been able to give back to that area.
So born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, you know, by a single mother. I'm the second oldest of 5. And, you know, grew up in the area, you know, 15th Ave, 17th Street, in the West Ward of the city. A lot of, you know, gang violence, drug violence, you know, carjackings, robberies, you name it. You know, there's all types of stuff. Crime-ridden city, you know, it's gotten better over the years, you know, a bit better, but still, you know, kind of experiencing the same things. But I've experienced friends, shot in front of my face, had friends on my, high school team murdered, cold blood, all types of stuff. And then, just experiencing that stuff in the city is, it just taught me to value life. It's just like, you have to cherish it, can't take it for granted. And then, some of the lessons that I learned even from my mom was just, you know, don't expect something for nothing. Don't expect anything to be handed to you in life. And you have to go out there and you have to work for any and everything that's going to come your way, or you're going to have an opportunity for it. So I just kept that stuck with me. And for me, getting to this point of my career, knowing that I didn't have access to some of the professional athletes, or some of the financial literacy or credit repair courses, or free training camps and stuff like that. I didn't have access to that growing up. We didn't have anyone from the city that we knew that was going out there getting it done and then coming back and pouring their knowledge back into the city. So I always told myself, I made a commitment to myself that whenever I made it, that I wasn't going to forget where I came from. I was going to make it a point to go back, give back, and to give those, the youth, pretty much everything that I've been able to learn along the way. So, I have a recreation center, that was, over a year ago, they renamed it in my honor, in the city, which, was a major part of my life, because it spoke to the fact of how much that I've been able to do over the years and give back to the city. But I have a goal to bring financial literacy courses, tax type of programs where we're not, the things that we really should be learning in school, we're not learning. The things that's truly going to help you in life, as far as the financial literacy, the financial freedom, things like that. That's what's going to take you a long way. And I think it's crucial in urban areas, and that's what I'm going to continue to do, give back, teach, and, continue with the free camps as soon as, everything opens back up and it's safe from a COVID standpoint, because I know, like, I still get messages till this day. Kids are just so, when are you going to do your camp again? I look forward to the camp, are you doing it this year? And I just have to keep, man, I just want to be safe. I don't want to, rush it. And then, because from the very first year when I started in 2014, we've averaged about 500 plus kids a year.
Wow.
So, and I'm talking about free, all expense, it's free, it's paid for, just show up, listen. The most I'm going to ask you for is your attention. Just listen, soak it all up, and have fun. Giving away, free iPads, headphones, Under Armour gear, just all types of stuff. And just to see the smile on those children's faces, that's what made my day. That's what it's all about. When you make it, you reach back down, you lend a hand for the next Tahir Whitehead and the next Colin Thompson, whoever it is, you reach back and then you pour whatever you have of yourself a little more into someone else.
Talked about the violence, the crime. How did you avoid it?
Honestly, I did. I found myself being in the mix, here and there. A few fights. When you live in, the gang areas, you naturally you're affiliated just off of where you live, oftentimes, and it's just like that is what it is. So I found myself having to fight, on plenty of occasions. You grow up, you have a friend, it's like, look, he gets into it with some guys, like, okay, that's my boy. I'm not going to just let them jump my boy. So as far as the extreme, everybody has fights, right? It is what it is. But as far as the extreme violence and things like that, guns, knives, I saw it and I just didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't want to contribute to the things in which that was going on in my neighborhood because I didn't agree with it. And on top of that, I never saw myself taking someone's life. I never wanted anyone to take my life. I never wanted my freedom to be taken away from me. So I told myself, look, you better stay out of the streets and stay involved in, sports or something like that, or, whatever it is. But that's not the life you want. So, stay away from it, far away from it.
And you create a rec center, or there's a rec center that's placed in your name. And that's a great way to give that opportunity, right? And I'll never forget it. We were talking, and I probably talked to you a handful of times this year about things I was struggling with, things that were going well, and just picking your brain on things. Obviously, we have connection through Temple, but someone I respect as a human, obviously as a player. And you told me, you're like, hey, man, there's a rec center. They're naming a rec center after me. And I lit up. Like, that's the goal. Like, that's what it's all about. Like, generational stuff to tell your kids about. Like, great. Like, you made tackles, and that's awesome for you personally.
Right.
It put, like, it's cool. But at the end of the day, you really can't share that with anybody. Like, you could share some wins, you could share some losses, you could sure share a Super Bowl. But they're hard to come by, but stuff like that's extremely hard to come by. Just talk about the whole process, finding out you're getting named, that they're naming it after you. And then, what's your involvement been since then?
So, initially, I like I stated, in 2014, started my free camp. So every year, year after year, handing out gifts, handing out, just doing so much in the community. You talk about coat drives, book bag drives, back to school drives, Thanksgiving. And, I did it all just from the kindness of my heart. I never looked for anything in return. And I get a phone call. It had to been early February of 2020. And they're just like, look, don't say nothing yet, but it's just been approved that we're going to be renaming just the Trek Center, in your honor. And I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like, why are you playing with me? And they're like, no, I'm serious. We just voted on, they passed it, and it's going down. And at the time, I didn't understand the magnitude of what, really of what that meant until, I spoke to, some of my mentors, and they're like, look, when you think of parks, streets, or sometimes, buildings, let's just say, keep it there. When you think of buildings, structures, they're often not named after someone unless they're retired from their field of work and or no longer here, on earth. They've come and they've gone, and now you have that they leave behind their legacy. It's like, you're still active in your field of work. You're still here, with us, and you're still doing things. Like, that's major. It's really, it's rarely done, and especially in the city. I don't think that at no point in time it was ever done. So it was extreme excitement on my end. And since then, like, I'm always on the phone with the director of the facility, Marquise Lewis, who's really like a brother to me. And he, we're constantly trying to figure out what programs we can bring to the city. Speaking to another Temple alum, Tamiko Richardson, just trying to help me out, bring entrepreneurship programs, to the facility and different areas of the country. And it's just like, we're trying to do so much, and you mean well, and it's just like, God shines his light down on you, and he sees your hard work, he sees your efforts, and he knows you mean well, and it's a blessing.
It is a blessing, because you're talking about now passing down knowledge, not just the opportunity, hey, come out and play for free, or, here's a clean rec center, which is a gift in itself. You're talking about financial literacy, tax stuff I wish I had. I always say, like, if I go back as like an athletic director or whatever I want to do, the first course I'm implementing for every student, not just athletics, is like just financial literacy. Like, it's hard to learn. It's really hard to learn, especially when you're older and you're like, wow, I got to figure this out. And on the run and on the moment, it's not like you have time to think about it. Like, taxes have to be paid, whatever you got to do. So you're passing that gift along to those kids. Again, opportunity, that's all they can. And you'd be given a lot of opportunities through your skill, through your hard work, through your dedication. You have 4 beautiful children. You're always posting about them. Give Tahir a follow on social media, man. I love it, man. The kids, the kids' pictures, and you got all the good stuff. But we talked a lot about this year in the locker room about different injustices across this planet. And I wrote this down. I was talking through it. Lessons to your kids now, right? They see dad's name on a rec center. They see dad's, performance on the field, a lot of visible things as a leader in the community, on the leader on the football field, a captain of the Panthers that I voted for this year. I don't know if we're allowed to disclose that, but I voted for Tahir. Sorry, guys.
You're good.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
That's not against the rules.
Yeah, I know it's not. But my point is lessons to your kids in this world today, because they're four beautiful Black children growing up in a world where probably more accepted than ever, but you still got to answer questions. Why am I different? Why am I treated differently? Speak about the current lessons you're teaching your kids. And you have kids that are less than a year old all the way to 13?
12. Yep. Close, man. Look, you see, my guy, that's why it's just and appreciate those kind words. Really I pride myself on being a family man and loving, my children, every step of the way, and just teaching them lessons. And it doesn't, really, as a father, Black father, man of color in this country, with everything that's been going on since really, for hundreds of years, and even, all around this world, as you stated. And then even, you see what's currently going on in the Asian community, and people, just mistreating them, and just with the current COVID and coronavirus and pandemic. But for me as a dad, I just constantly tell them, just be respectful. Just as long as you carry yourself in a manner in which you can be proud of, I can be proud of, you shouldn't find yourself having any issues. Now, that's the thing of it, right? You would love to think that it's just that easy. Now, for me, it's look, I have to elaborate now. I have a 12-year-old, 6-year-old, 4-year-old, now, a 1-year-old as of March 19th. Now, they don't understand as kids, the fact that they're going to be viewed differently than people, of other races and, other cultures and everything, in which they are. They don't understand the dynamic of where, you turn on the news and you constantly see, a person of color, being demonized or identified as, a thug or, all types of things. And I asked them, I'm like, am I that? Am I any of the things in which they just described on the TV, when they show that man, that look like me? And they're like, no. So again, are you any of those things? Like, no. So I'm like, look, so if you carry yourself in which the manner that I walk, and you plan to walk wherever you want to get to in life, you generally shouldn't run into any issues. But you're going to be viewed as a target. You're going to be viewed as, someone that, is up to no good. And you cannot do anything about that, except for when you encounter situations, you're respectful to the person, the police officer in which that's pulling you over. You're respectful to the person that, you have that encounter with. And at the end of the day, you just you just go on about your business. Because, that's how I carry it for me. I can't control someone else's perception of me. At the end of the day, nor should I care. And it's sad that I had to learn to care a little more than what I was raised to, because I grew up in an environment, in the city where it's all Black. And I didn't have to interact, unless I went to school where I had, some white teachers, or some Asian teachers, Hispanics, different teachers that was coming from other areas. But I didn't have to interact on a daily basis in my community with someone of another race. So I never had to learn the ins and outs of, just having to kind of straighten up when, you were pulled over by a police officer, or, things like that, because even the police officers in my community, they were Black. So, for the most part, and we didn't have like unjust killings or anything like that. You get it, you ride by and you had a police officer wait, like, look, keep it moving. But for me, I just tell them, just be respectful. Don't go out here and, once you have a record, you're going to be, viewed as exactly what they're saying on TV. So I just try to teach them that respect, because it goes a long way. And I think as a society, as a community, we've gotten away from that. Just simply respecting, others, respect yourself.
You hit on so many great points there. I was writing down a bunch of notes, and we talked about not growing up in, in a community where everyone looks like you. I grew up in a community where vastly white, vastly outside of Philadelphia, a suburb. I was so fortunate just being clean cut and dried that my parents don't have a racist bone in their body. My grandparents were like extremely close with, worked in Philadelphia at Bell Telephone with Black men and Asian men. And it's like, and I'm so fortunate because, and I don't think people say that enough, like, because of the world we live in today, you could easily have parents or grandparents that experienced whatever and they're racist. It's just like, bottom line, like, there's no like little bit racist. You like are, or you're not.
You either are or you're not.
So I thought it was interesting, like growing up in the community. You talked about community, and I want to switch it over to the locker room. And someone asked me this question the other day. I was on a podcast. Shout out with Coffee with Coach. What a great podcast. Lessons from the locker room you would pass along to society we live in. And the first thing I said was, I could talk to Tahir Whitehead, who's from Newark, New Jersey, and I'm from Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and I could ask him questions. I can ask him, as a white man, Tahir, how do I go about this? How do I go about, talking about injustices with Black people, or bringing it back and talking it to a white person? Like, people don't have that. So I said, like, I would bring that immediately, like the conversations in the showers, like with Russell and JJ.
In the showers.
In the showers. Listen, I'm comfortable with
places.
that.
It's like, nah, look, anytime, any place, we deep conversations, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing I would give, because the amount of time I talked to you this year, I talked a lot to Russell or JJ or a lot of guys, Sam Franklin in our locker room. And, like Sam and I have a gay brother. Sam's brother's gay. Like that's tremendous. Like, I'm a white guy with a gay brother. He's a Black guy with a gay brother. Like, we could talk about things that a lot of people can't talk about publicly. And, right. I just said, I'd bring the locker room to society, because we'd be a much better world. Like, there's never any charged conversations. It's straight up like, help me. So what would be the one gift you'd give? And I know we've been on this topic a lot, but is there a certain gift or maybe another gift that you'd pass along from the locker room or from the football field to our world today?
Honestly, that's probably the greatest one that we can, bring to the world. And you nailed it right there. Like the culture in the locker room, if we had that in society, we'd be better off. But I'd say the ability to adapt, pretty much. Like, no matter what, you have a group of men that come from different areas of, the country and different backgrounds. And every day we walk into that facility with one common goal, which is to win. And I think, and it's just selfless, and also, obviously, you have some here and there, but the majority rules, and you have to remember that. So, and I think that also speaks to your point, which is that locker room culture, in society, because we have to understand that it's about the greater good. It's about the majority. And when people realize that, and we all pulling in the same direction, we win. We win as an individual, we win as a team, we win as a community, we win as a society. So you take that type of, be learning to adapt and just kind of keep on pushing and have all that same pulling in the same direction mentality, which is win. Then I think as a society, that would be major. and I think that goes hand in hand with what you mentioned as far as the locker room culture.
It's a special place. There's nothing like it. And not everybody agrees all the time either. And that was
Right.
one thing I went up to you this year to talk about. I'm like, this is like the first main disagreement I've had with somebody on a certain thing. And I was like, why do I handle this? Tahir is like, approach him like you would. I said, all right, great, I will. So, I'll never forget that. And I'll always have a ton of respect for you for that. I never will. I'll never forget it. It was cool for me. Again, this is my first year in the league too, like really in the league, not just on a practice squad. So be able to experience that. There's nothing like the locker room. It's just an unreal place. Everybody says it. I've been in plenty of them, but to really be a part of one for, 16 games and a training camp, there was nothing like it. We'll talk about some fun stuff now. 30, not that it wasn't fun before, but maybe a little more lighthearted. 30 under 30, Temple University. How cool is that, man? So Tahir Whitehead just gets out of nowhere. I was on Twitter scrolling and I see Tahir Whitehead, he gets selected for the Temple 30 under 30. How'd that come about, man? That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thanks, C. And it pretty much came about just like the recreation center, bro, honestly. Out of nowhere, just, that one was an email. It was like, hey, excited to announce. I'm like, man,
you thought it was like
some spam. Man, get this
or Temple's asking for money because you're a free agent again. Yeah.
I'm like, man, who the hell playing in my email? Get out of here with this foolishness. I don't have time for this. And so I looked into it and I called, I'm like, hello, I'm like, I just received an email in regards to, Temple 30 under 30. And they're like, yeah, we're excited, congratulations. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah. We're going to set up an interview and, we're just going to kind of get some more detail on. So I'm just like blown away. Like, dang, like this is happening. Now, mind you, even though I just posted on this recently, and because I'm the class of 2021, I found that out February of last year when I got the information about the rec center.
You were rolling pre-COVID, man.
So I was rolling. It was just one thing after another. So I'm just like, man, like this is crazy, So, and I couldn't post about any of it, So I'm just excited, I'm just trying to just be a closed book. I can't really mention it. I can't post about it. But I was extremely excited about the fact that, I received that award. So, it's just been, it was exciting times as hard as, COVID was and having my youngest child, like up in limbo, whether or not I was going to be able to be there for the delivery and, COVID, you seeing people, just getting extremely ill, being in hospital. So I'm frightful of that. And then, just like, how are we going to go about COVID in through a football season? Are we going to have a football season? Like the year was just crazy, but as bad as it was, with the virus and things like that, there was some beauty in it for from my family's perspective, from a personal perspective. Had another child.
It was an unreal year for me too. I got engaged to my wife to be Sydney, and then I made my first year in the NFL, and she graduated. She's a doctor now, so it was a wild year. Now, obviously, health wise, we were okay, which is the number one thing. And I want to talk about that too, just a little bit. Like, what was that like? Thinking, okay, I got to go to work when no one else is going to work in this country, and we're a lot closer than everybody else. And then you got to bring it home to a pregnant wife, a newborn baby. Take us through that.
So that was extremely tricky, and understanding, like, I love my children, love my wife dearly. Like, huge family is huge in me. That's the biggest motivator for me. Now, initially, when my wife was pregnant, with our youngest Truce, even the pregnancy, like it was a bunch of complications, gestational diabetes and all types of stuff. When he was born, he actually was born with a true knot in this umbilical cord, as well as, with the cord wrapped around his neck. So if you're, and I'm pretty sure if you mentioned it to your wife or being, familiar in the medical field, like as being a doctor, like they say the chances of him, actually getting here, they in the delivery room, they said that he was a miracle baby. And it was just like, wow, like who would have known? So once he, we was just full of joy when, when I received him, because I actually delivered him, that's my thing. I'm like, I want to be involved as much as possible. I'm like, my wife, she has to push him out, like at the very least, and just seeing how hard that can be, like I would never understand, but I'm like being able to at least receive him, there's no greater feeling. But even then you transition to the season, and now, every day, you have to be cautious as far as, not taking the virus, into the household. So whenever, it's one thing when we were around, so when we transition to the season, it's one thing when you're in there with us, it's just your team, your coaches, your staff. And, we're all getting tested every day, which was crazy. Yeah, but well worth it, because you knew at the very least everyone that you were around on a day-to-day was being safe, and they were tested negative and everything, for the most part. And then even to be sure, after games, I would go to, a hotel. I would go in the team hotel, instead of going directly home, because we would, play against another team. And I didn't, I'd rather been safe to sorry. I didn't know. Wait till I got my test results the following day, and then, go back into the house. So I was just trying to take extreme measures. And, as hard as it was worth it, in the sense of just like, look, I'm protecting my family, and I had, confidence in that. So, it was definitely a weird year to that point.
Yeah, definitely the weirdest year. You've had a couple years in the league, but before we get into the league stuff, I want to talk about Temple. There's some characters that you've been able to play with there. There's some coaches that you've been able to get coached by that I was lucky enough to get coached by. You're there 4 years. It's a special place. A lot of people that listen to me and listen to the show, hear me talk about it all the time, and all the special coaches and players that I got to play with. But are there some coaches, we'll start there, that stick out to you over your time at Temple from 08 to 11 that you just enjoy or stay in touch with the most?
So for me, one of the biggest characters was Mark D'Onofrio. He was the defense coordinator when I was there. That's the guy. He recruited me. He was the one coming up to Newark, 8 o'clock, like 7 o'clock for sun's down, it's dark. And I'm like, who is this crazy dude, over here sitting outside West, on the outside the fence at Westside Park. That's when it didn't register to me then, but I should have known that he was nuts. It's like, dog, you're sitting out here, one of the, crime-ridden area, sometimes it would be gunshots, and, just wouldn't flinch. He's just like locked in on the football, locked in on the practice. And I'm just looking, I'm like, dang, this dude crazy, man. Then I get to Temple, and he is every bit of that, like just high energy. He's, he played linebacker at Penn State. He got drafted high to the Packers, I believe it was. And it was just like, he was one of the most intense coaches I've ever met. But if you were his guy, you were his guy. He'd go to bat for you, and which he did for me. That Temple was my only offer. And that's who offered it to me. So, I didn't get a chance, like over the years, I didn't keep in touch with him as much as I'd like. But as far as the relationship while I was there, and most like one of the craziest characters, he was definitely that. But one of the other coaches, who was my linebacker coach, Ben Albert, I believe he's at Duke University now. He had coached in the league with Jacksonville. He's like their D-line coach. So he was my coach my senior year, and we probably keep in touch more than any of the other coaches that I've been around. And he's just like all around great dude, full of knowledge, just like like D'Onofrio was. But in same thing, like high energy. He played linebacker as well. I guess it's something about linebackers. We high energy, we're crazy as all hell, and so now I just made that connection. But
Love it.
those two dudes were, definitely instrumental in my career while at Temple and my ability to learn football and play football at a high level.
There's a couple people that you played with that were pretty crazy too, and you played with a lot of really good players. Who were the craziest, and who were probably the best players you played with defensively at Temple?
So some of the
they'll probably go hand in hand. They kind of go hand in hand.
Right. I was about to say it often goes hand in hand, because you gotta be a little crazy, to play football to begin with, but to play it at a high level, you might have to be even crazier. So I think and God bless his soul, my good friend, good brother, Adrian. He was one of the most talented guys that I've ever been around. Like just, extremely strong, quick, had a knack for the game. I believe he was what's the game that you guys play in? It's the Big 33 or something like that.
Big 33, yeah.
Big 33, yep. He played in that game, and he had a lot of hype coming in as when we were freshmen, and and he lived up to it. When we were just playing, when I had the opportunity to play with him over the years, loved the game, and he poured his heart and soul into it. But and not even like we called him can't get right. Now he, as good as he was in the football field when he was able to get there, my guy could not get right. I'm talking about there were times we'd have practice, we have 15 minutes before we needed to be on start on the line or OTL, that case. And we would see him running into the gate. Everybody's out there. We getting warmed up. We see him just running into the gate and dash into the locker room and then just come out. No socks on, cleats, pants halfway up, mouthpiece dangling, just all over the place. And he'd be like, what's up with you? And I'm talking about this happened more times than not. But when he got there on that field, he showed up and showed out. And then I would say one of the, most of the other really talented guys that I had the opportunity to play with was Big Mo, as we know him, Muhammad Wilkerson, just freak, calling him like the dancing bear, like quick feet for a big guy that was 300 plus, 6'5", yes, like freaky athlete, and he got in like really good. But we had some character, Junior Gillette, probably one of the quickest guys off the edge, high level motor, all that, one of the best pass rushers that was in the league for a while, and
he would get in that stance, man. He would get in that low stance.
That low stance 4-point and then just explode out the blocks like he was running track. But and there's a bunch of other guys, that I could name that like just played it at like the game at a high level, and you would never really think it because you think Temple is like not a crazy big school. We're more, like known these days than we were then. But no, we played with a lot of talented guys.
No, it blew me away when I transferred from Florida to Temple. Temple was my only offer when I transferred, and I was like, wow, this team could play against that team in Florida. And as Coach Rule always says, like, if we practice right now, we beat any team in the country, like at practice. But, again, take it to the game. Can you be in the moment, stuff like that? Mm-hmm. But we practice hard and we practice at a high level. And I think that helped me, make the game easier and help me, get into the league and hopefully try to stay. So Temple from 08 to 11, you hit the combine. Hardest part of the combine that maybe, I think I may know the answer, but maybe for people out there that don't know and haven't been to the combine, what's the most challenging part of it?
Just the hurry up and wait. You rush from one place to another. You're being pushed. It's go, 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 go. And then once you get there, it's like it's a rush to get there. Like, oh man, I'm gonna have to get in here. I'm gonna have to be ready to do this. And then it's like, okay, yeah, you got to go get this physical. And then I get there, and it's like, all right, yeah, you're next. You have about 30 to 45 minutes before they see it. I'm like, okay, like whatever. But that was just one of the like kind of nerve rattling things about it. But for me, like going out there and performing and knowing that you have millions of people watching, like that was really like intense. And for me, like you dehydrated, didn't really have much time to eat. Talking about you eating half a turkey subs, pretty much every day or throughout the day, like not really getting everything, like, not really drinking the way you're supposed to, because, you just, your mind is gone. You're not really thinking about the fact that, oh, I got to go out there. And after these meetings with these scouts or with these coaches or this physical, I got to go out there in the next 2 days, and I got to bench press 225 however many times I can. I got to go out there, run the 40 and the agility drill, 20-yard shuttle, all that stuff. So I was so like just like tore up that and just tired that the night before the linebackers were to take the field, I slept with my contacts in my eyes. And like I woke up, my eyes were so red and just dry. And I really couldn't, I was so tired. I didn't even know or think about what the issue was. So I'm just pouring water in my eyes. I'm just go out there. Okay, look, let's just get it done. It's the last day, you're tired, but you still got to go out there and perform. So I go out there, I'm running, and then we get to the ball drills. I drop. Now, mind you, I'm not going to act like I have the greatest hands ever, whatever the case. But, I played wide receiver, tight end in high school. Tells you a lot about, that. I went out there and dropped every single last ball in the linebacker drills. And I tried to forget about it, like, and just kept pushing for it, but it was eating me up inside while I was out there, just just going to each session and everything. And like, it was probably one of the most embarrassing things, because it was like when I got to the Lions, linebacker coach was like, man, like you have bricks for hands. Like, you can't catch shit. Like, they were just on my case. Like, teammates would just tear me up. Everybody, I'm getting text messages afterwards. They like, oh, what's up with you? I'm like, man. But it was fun. I had the opportunity to get to the combine, and that was that.
You talked about the scouts and the coaches. Any weird questions that you can publicly just tell? Any weird catches from anybody? Questions from anybody?
Nothing weird. It was like just straight up and down. I didn't have many interviews when I was there at the combine. Like, I think the Lions. The Lions, I can't recall anyone interviewing with anyone else. I interviewed with the Lions linebacker at the time, linebacker coach at the time, Matt Burt, and that was really it. He just talked about me having a high motor and things like that, playing on all of the special teams at Temple and playing defense. Like, just kind of he showed me some love, and I didn't really think nothing of it, because if there's anyone that can hold that has a great poker face, it's NFL scouts, NFL coaches.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Like,
man.
I could not read it for 1 second. How he felt about it. Like, he just was so nonchalant, just whatever about it. And I'm just like, okay.
I hate that. I hated it. And then we go, and then you get in the building. You're like, hey man, love your tape, love your game.
Right. Like, shit, I couldn't tell.
I would have slept well that night if you told me that, man.
The way you carried it, I thought you thought I was a bum. Like, but no, it's like that. Nothing weird, but that was something that stuck out to me.
So 5th round of the Lions, you were there 12-17. That's a heck of a run. Detroit. Thoughts on the city, the organization? Jim Schwartz was your head coach, right?
Yes. Yeah. So funny thing about that draft story, I think I mentioned this in one of the team meetings. I almost not didn't get drafted to the Lions because somewhere along the way might have like a number was altered in with some of my information, and they were calling on the wrong phone. So when my agent called and he finally got around to, get me, he said, "Hey man, the Lions are trying to call you, they're trying to draft you." I'm looking at the ticker in the living room with my family. I'm like, "Well, the Lions are on the clock." I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, cool." They called, hung up, and Jim Swartz on the phone. He's like, "Hey man, you don't want to get drafted?" He's like, "We almost moved on from you. They couldn't get a hold of you." I'm like, "Oh shit!" I'm like, "Well, nah, man, I'm excited." So that was a wild story right there. And then it's just like transition. Once I get there, I'm the OTAs, and we having some of the police officers and people come in and talk to the team. So one thing stuck out to me that I'll never forget is like, look, you ever riding around in the city and the sun goes down and everything, you get to a stop sign or something like that, don't stop. Keep going. I said, whoa. I'm looking up like, wait, what I signed up for? Now I'm joking. I say that because it's just like, look, I'm from Newark, it's the inner city, bunch of crime, used to that. Then bounce over to Temple, which is in North Philadelphia on Broad Street, and had, junkies or fiends, whatever you call it, addicts, coming on to campus. It's not like we don't have any gates or fences to keep people out. So, they're moving around. So, it was just like, look, I was bouncing from one blue collar or hard nosed city to the next. So when I got there, and I still have some of the greatest, which were friends, which we consider like family now, that my wife and I, we've met when we were there and still keep in touch to this day. Some of the most great, like the greatest people that I've met, ever, just humble, blue collar, just hardworking. And that really exemplifies the city. And it really, as a team, while I was there, we kind of took on that mentality of the city. So, a lot of, even though it was going through a change, it was they were revamping the city, and it was tough, but definitely a great time while I was there for 6 years and met some great people and had a bunch of great times.
Was there somebody you looked up to, somebody that was a mentor to you early in your career that you still give a lot of credit to for what type of player and person you are?
Yeah, honestly, I say it was Stephen Tulloch. He played at North Carolina State. He was about I think Tully was like a 3rd round draft pick. He was a smaller guy. Well, not smaller, I would say shorter guy. He was about 5'10". I always joke to say he was about 5'8". You know what I mean? But he was a little short, but he was like a bowling ball. He was stout. He was about 245, and he will come with, he would hit you right in your chin and lace you up. So I just used to watch the way he went about taking care of his body, his preparation as far as note taking and questions he asked in the meeting room. And, we had a great group of guys my rookie year. We had Justin Durant, he played at a high level for a long time in the league. We had DeAndre Levy, played at a high level, in the league for a long time. Great veteran guys in the room, including Tully. And, just watching them work and watching how professional they were was instrumental in my career because, as a young guy, not knowing what to expect when you come into the league, you hear all these things. I had mentors that played in the league, like my defensive coordinator, Tony Woods. He went to Seton Hall Prep, I believe it was, and then he went to Pittsburgh, and he was drafted like in the 1st round to the Seahawks, like in the early 90s, like the 80s, whenever it was. But he played like 13 years in the league. So I was able to pick guys' brains along the way. But, the culture of the NFL has changed. It changed from when my mentors played to when I ended up playing in there. So one of my other mentors, he used to always tell me, like, look, you're going to see them old linemen walking around, pigeon-toed, bow-legged, walking like, a zombie or something like that, just looking all jacked up. But he said, look, once them dudes get on the field, he said, it's like Legos. They gonna snap everything in place and get in position. And he said they gonna get their hands on you. Do not let them put you on your big numbers. He like, do not let them put you on your back, because they're gonna be strong, they're gonna be fast, and like they're gonna be quick. As much as they're not gonna look it, and they're gonna be good. And I kept that in mind, and sure as hell, it held true. And I used to have to get them dudes up off me quick. But no, we had a great group of guys, and even just from a football standpoint, Tully, he gave me a lot of off the field advice. Levy gave a lot of off the field advice, from a finance standpoint, just taught me how to be smart with my money. Just kind of whatever I get into, make sure I do my homework on it. And, at that point, I'm a rookie. I'm talking to guys that were like 5 and 4 years in the league. So, they're not the oldest guys themselves, but you could tell that they had some great mentors, when they got in the league. So they poured that information to me. And for me as I just finished my 9th year in the league. So over the years, I felt it only right to pay that forward. I have to give the same information and that leadership and that mentorship that was given to me into the younger players. So that's the stuff that sometimes, the coaches don't necessarily see. There were times this year, a young guy, they just distraught, they're angry, not knowing, like not happy with their current position or their role, or might have been said something to, like, and they would be in almost like angry and just ready to flip. And I see him, and I take pride in knowing all of my teammates' names for the most part. Obviously, with the turnover, sometimes you don't always get some guy's name. Guys get in and out, but I take pride in knowing my teammates. I take pride in talking to, everyone, not just limiting myself to the linebacker group or the defense or anything like that. Take pride in knowing the coaches, the staff in the building. So whenever I sit back and I kind of analyze and assess, what's going on. So I can tell when something was wrong with certain guys, when the guys weren't as upbeat, go to them, hey, you good, man? Everything all right. So it's just like, there were times, guys didn't know, they were fearful that, man, I might get cut, this and that. And I watch, even I take pride in humbling myself and just look, you have to go into every day as if you know absolutely nothing about football and that you can learn something new today. So I would ask questions to the younger guys. What do you think, critique me? What do you think I can get better at? I was just humbled enough to just be able to go to a rookie or a second year guy and ask them that, and I would do the same. And I would just kind of give coaching points, here and there. Like, look, I think you could do this a little better. Or, hey, look, that's a great job you did there. Or just even advice about just the emotional state, because we're all hyper aggressive, we're all alpha males, and sometimes that could get in the way of your success, in your career in the league. So, it's a lot that goes into it, man, just from a veteran standpoint, mentorship standpoint. And it's like, you can't get that when you have a team full of young guys, so.
No, you can't. You've hit on a lot of great points. Humble enough to ask the questions, taking emotion out of it. That's huge. That's a huge part. You can't have an ego with things, and people respect you more if you give them respect to talk about your career, talk about your play. Right. Talked about a culture change a little bit in the league, about from your mentors and then from the people that you were able to learn from. How much has the league changed in the last 9 years on and off the field?
Extremely, tremendously. You just talked about the nature, the physicality of the game. Now, granted, you see some of the fastest, biggest, strongest guys right now. You used to see some of them guys, in the 80s, the 90s and stuff like that, but it was almost like it was far in between. Nowadays, it's almost like you can't go 5 feet without seeing someone who looks like a ridiculous, just a physical specimen. Just dang, you fast, you quick, you strong, then you smart. You have to have all of the tools, because at the end of the day, the training that we have, or access to these days, are like ridiculous. It's everywhere. Everyone's doing it. So if you're not, you're almost it's like you're behind, and you're playing catch up. So back then you look at the physical aspect of the game where, the helmet to helmet, the knockout, the hits, the challenges and all types of stuff. Like the nature of the game just from that standpoint has changed, because as a defender now I have to go out there and I have to be, conscious as to how I'm tackling somebody, where I'm tackling someone. And and oftentimes, it's, you got to you have to think about this stuff. And in practice, your angles, it might be different because you're trying to stay away from guys. So you can't do certain stuff. And then you can't, you get to the game and then now you have to transition to, now I can do this. Now I could, go knock somebody out. But, oh, wait, you can't hit this guy in the head. Or, oh, wait, you can't hit this guy with your helmet. So it's just like, it's a lot more to take into the game now with the rules and everything than it was then. But I would say and then you transition from the financial standpoint and off the field stuff, with social media and things like that, we have access to so much. And it's a gift and a curse, because I think a lot of the same things that you see going on these days were going on then. It's just that everyone didn't have their phone out. They didn't have the camera, right in your face, and you do something stupid, which 21-year-old or 18-year-old is not out here doing something stupid these days, or like throughout history, but it's just like it wasn't being captured then like it is now. So then now you have to walk around with that, the rest of your life, because, it's all on, it's on camera. So outside of that, the finance aspect, I believe just like we have more access to social media and more access to training and things like that, we have more access that brings more access to financial advice, financial literacy, and all like the positive things that can come of that stuff. So guys are being more informed. Guys are taking the time to educate themselves on these things. So I believe, at one point, it was in 2009, the stat came out that 78% of guys in the NFL are either bankrupt, filing for bankruptcy, or suffering from financial hardships 2 years or so after the league. So I think now, that number has come down some, because you see a lot more guys being involved with, these, I just was on one last week, the financial boot camp. I take advantage of, you have so much access to this information and stuff like that, financial professionals, or even if you want to get on TV and you want to do the production boot camp and things like that, you have access to that stuff, and you see, guys taking advantage. So even though guys are taking advantage, you still don't have the high amount of guys that, like, you're talking about 2,400 guys throughout the league. I'll be generous, let's say 900 guys are capitalizing or utilizing these resources. Then the other, 1,500, whatever it is, they're not utilizing that stuff. They run the risk of being part of that 78% back in 2009 that was reported. So I think, we have a lot more access to information due to social media, the internet, and all of this stuff. So, we just utilizing it.
So you leave Detroit, you sign a nice ticket in Oakland.
It was all right.
It's a good one. I saw it today. I was fired up about it.
Yeah, it was all right.
I said, that's a good one, man. Nice 3-year deal. And you head to Oakland, and then you're a free agent, and then you sign a nice free agent deal with Carolina last year where we got to play, and then now you're a free agent again. Before we go into free agency, anything from your time in Oakland, because that's a crazy place, man. And the Black Hole and Jack Del Rio and all these different, what a great place. I was going to move on from free agency and wrap it up. But before we do, I want to talk about just Oakland. Talk about that.
So Oakland was definitely, it was love, man. It was like just the history of the organization, the greats that played there, and having the opportunity to, be around Willie Brown, and just like countless other guys that, showed up in the facility, and they embrace their the guys that pretty much set the foundation for the organization, and like they had the saying, like, once a Raider, always a Raider. And I still get shown love till this day from Raiders fans, but, and as crazy and as lively as they are, it's like, look, if you want ours, you want ours. If you just want to win, you know what I mean? Like Al said it best, he just win, baby. And that's the mentality in which they took on. I mean, playing the game hard. You talk about big hits, talking about just going out there, laying it on the line. They exemplified that, and during the time when they went on their run for their Super Bowls and everything like that. And if you didn't come there with that type of mentality, and you weren't part of the culture, and you can still see that it was there even when out, played my 2 years there. Like that sense of pride, and the city, another city that's like no hard nose, just grind it, Bay Area, just figure it out, hustle hard, get it done. And that, like, then you add John Gruden in the mix. He's back in the Bay Area after his hiatus, and like just bringing Chucky back. Yeah, he gets in your grill, and high energy guys, like it like had a lot of talent on the team, and they obviously went through that rebuild and everything. It was a good time out there. Being on you on Hard Knocks, you got the cameras everywhere. It was like,
I forgot you were on Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I mean, it's dope.
What was
man.
that like, man?
You really didn't realize that they were there. Like they set the cameras up in the room and everything, and obviously they would roll, and they take footage from each meeting room based on what they were going to shoot. In particular, that episode, and that was that. Like, you didn't have guys all up in your face. The only time that was the case is when you were on the football field. But no, it was a good experience, to be a part of that. And people always mess with me about the fact, what Gruden says, man, if I had a body like that, I'd be on the Santa Monica Pier. So, like, I was walking off the field, had my shirt off, and I'm like, shit, if you work hard year round for it, might as well show it off, because they always, man, you always want to take your shirt off. And I'm like, look, y'all jealous.
I keep my shirt on. I keep my shirt on for that reason. Hey, so you were there with, was it Coach Del Rio for 1 year, and then, or just Gruden the whole time?
Yeah. So when I signed there, they had just Gruden had just come out of retirement.
Okay.
So,
I was off a year. Okay.
So so it was a 3-year deal, but my 3rd year is when they released me, and then that's how I ended up signing with the Panthers. So this past season would have been my final year there, but I ended up with you guys, which it comes with the territory. You can't take it personal, as much as no one wants to feel like they get no one wants to be cut, released, and feel like they're not good enough or anything like that. But it's just like, look, man, at the end of the day, if you're not in the plans, you're not in the plans, and at the end of the day, there's only one thing that is guaranteed, is just fact that at some point, just your time in the NFL is going to end. There's nothing that you can do about it. Your time's going to end, or you might have to move on from a certain team, might have to change positions. It's a lot of unknowns, and you just have to roll with the flow, roll with the punches, and just take it with a grain of salt. My wife, she likes to say this. She said, "Man plans and God laughs." We think we have an idea, we think we have a plan, and we're going to execute the plan, but at the end of the day, you really don't have too much control of, really, like, of nothing, so your best bet is to learn to adapt, learn to roll with the punches, and just take life as it comes. And that's how I live my life.
Strong words, Mrs. Whitehead. I love it. So free agent this year, you were a free agent. You signed in Carolina with Coach Rule and a bunch of those Temple guys, which was a really cool experience for me.
The Temple Panthers.
Yeah, man. How was that experience for you last year? I know we didn't have the year we won it, but I'll tell you this, man, like your leadership, like your attitude, like you know that everybody is watching you. I don't know if you carry yourself like that, but you do. Like you have that aura around you, and not just me not pumping your tires. That's just me as a friend and just telling you as a teammate straight up that, we didn't have the year we wanted, but I thought, a lot of people learned a lot from you that, and that's on purpose. And like you talk about that, like I'm here, I'm dialed in on the people in the building. Yeah, not the ideal year for us, but I had a blast, man. I really did.
No, I don't think there's ever been a year like this in the NFL. You're talking about having virtual meetings, all OTAs. No OTA. You don't meet your teammates until 4 weeks before you take the field, before the first game. It's crazy. It was an unprecedented year, crazy times. But at the end of the day, you adapt and you push through, and you just take it as it comes. But I'd say, just being familiar with Matt, from Temple, and just knowing how, his high energy and how smart he is and understanding of the game, and knowing that, he believed in that old school, like that mentality, like, look, just buckle up, your chin strap, put your mouthpiece in, we playing hardball, and just track. I kept in touch with Matt throughout, his whole career before, signing with the Panthers. When he was at Temple, just reached out to him, congratulated him, would touch base with him here and there. When I was watching, got a chance to watch the games, let him know how I felt about, the fellas of the games. When he went to Baylor, congratulated, kept in touch then, like good stuff. So I think, Matt's one of the other coaches that, I really kept in touch with a lot over the years. And I understood what he was about. And that's what made me excited about signing with the Panthers. And then it's just like, as you alluded to, and I appreciate those words, man. Like I do walk around like that. See, like I do walk around like, look, I'm here. I'm gonna, as much like I talk now a lot more now than I used to, and I used to just say, look, I'm gonna just put up or shut up, or just I'm gonna let my pads do my talking. I'm just let my actions speak louder than my words. But that's the type of mentality I have. I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. I'm gonna show you how to work. I'm gonna show you how to take care of your body. I'm gonna show you why I've played 9 years and I've only missed one game in that 9 year span. I'm gonna just show you all of those things. Saying, like I said, I've prided myself on just showing guys the way of taking that leadership role seriously. When you have the opportunity to wear that C on your chest, it means like it shouldn't be taken lightly, because you talking about you have 52 plus other men on the team that votes for you and say, we want him to represent us. We want him to be our voice, or we want him to be our captain. That is a major accomplishment. That is something that no one should ever take lightly. And I didn't, I wore that with pride, and I carried myself with that, in mind. It's like I've had my ups and downs, over the last 2 years, in Oakland. I was pretty much benched for the last 4 games or so. You don't see me crying like a baby, in the media, lashing out on the coaching staff and, going all this and that. I had the same experience this year, where I, pretty much was benched for the last 6 to 8 games and everything. You don't see me lashing out and everything in the media. You see me just show up to work every day. And I'm going, now granted, was I happy about the shit? Hell no. At no point in time, look, I'm a competitor, I'm a grinder, I'm going, it's like, look, no, I know damn well I still got the juice. And at the end of the day, I can't control any of that. I can't control how much I'm gonna play, if I'm gonna play, if I'm not. But what I can do is control what I could control, and that's how I play when I get the opportunity and my attitude. So I take pride in coming in the building and making sure that I'm not, a distraction. I'm not energy vampires, Al Golden like to call it. And because, as much as you don't think people are watching, they are. And, what they say was done in the dark eventually comes to light. I live my life that way every step of the way. And since it's like, look, I have to be the shining light. I have to be the example. I have to be the trendsetter. I have to show these younger guys who don't know which way is up, which way is down in the league, and show them exactly how it's to be done. So it'll be posted on the social media,
Awesome,
once that time comes. But what I'm gonna leave you with is this: wherever I end up, if it's not back with the Panthers, just know, as always, you better buckle up your damn chin strap, put your mouthpiece in, because I'm going to butt you in your shit.
Listen, I'm always strapped. I'm on the sideline with my chin strap mouthpiece in. I'm going to get hit from all angles. I went to Temple. I got hit on the sideline. So,
Get ready. You got to get ready.
you got to get ready. So, hey, man, I appreciate you guys. You guys have a great day.
Hey, you as well, see. Talk to you soon.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the interview with Tahir Whitehead. He's obviously someone that is a dear friend of mine, and this was the first year I ever met Tahir. Someone who I have a ton in common with, and really not a lot in common with when it comes to where we're from, different trials and tribulations through our lives. But what we do have in common is we went to Temple. We were coached by a lot of the same coaches. We were trained by a lot of the same people, and we carry, a lot of the same mantras, if you will, and the same ways we walk around the building, the same ways we respect people. And honestly, for me, I hope to be more like Tahir every day. The guy's a warrior. He plays hard. He plays physical. He handles his business well on and off the field, and is a true pro's pro. And Tahir, I can't thank you enough for joining, my friend. We can't wait here at Not For Long Media to see where you go. And I really enjoyed learning from you on the field, off the field, and establishing a new relationship and a friendship. So thank you for joining, Tahir. You guys know this. We're brought to you by Wealth Advisory Services. Nothing but the best from Dave and Paul at Wealth Advisory Services. If you don't know them, you could. They're going to help you with retirement, your 401k, your business, stuff like that. They're the best, truly. And I don't mean it as just because they're people that I work with and they sponsor the podcast. I'm talking that I've had multiple advisors, and these guys really for the last 10 years with working with my family, in the last several years working with me individually, have done really unbelievable things by me, and it helped set me up, my family up, my future family here, getting married to Sydney in the summer. So pretty special stuff with the wealthadvisoryservices.com. Check them out. And then the original Fudge Kitchen, near and dear family business to my heart. They're shipping fudge across the country. Check them out. Ship it to your friends for your birthday, for the holidays. Mother's Day's coming up. Father's Day's coming up in the summer. They're probably a couple months away, but still, hey, it never hurts to send some a box of fudge, some saltwater taffies. They have so much stuff, guys. Check out their website, Fudge Kitchens. That's fudgekitchens.com. Wealth Advisory Services, the original Fudge Kitchen. Check them out. We appreciate your support. That will do it for the end of episode 5 with Tahir Whitehead. Another week of March Madness is down. We're getting excited for lots of fun things going into the last weekend of March Madness. Stay tuned for a poll or a competition, I should say, a Masters pool, for the Masters, which will be in a couple weeks. So another way we're going to raise money, another way we're going to give some gifts away from our sponsors, a little swag bag and some items. So stay tuned for a Masters pool. We appreciate Tahir Whitehead for coming on. I appreciate the producers, Dion, Autumn, and media, and Justin Ayers. Guys, thank you guys so much for making it possible for me to do this. And I look forward to another episode of Not For Long podcast next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
I can't let you go. I won't let you know. I'm drowning in your wine. Another night is down. Yeah, make you right. That's why I gotta go. The words bring at the battle. I'm free. The shadows crawl through the streets, and I've been waiting. I get this feeling that I'm going back again. Back to something sweet. I don't wanna go. I don't wanna go. Why don't we go down? Lord.